they're here for some specific reason. There's an intentionality to that many people that all look the same and are doing the same things and having directions. There's a reason that's happening. We can debate as to why that is. And again, my opinion is that the tens of thousands of fighting age male Chinese men with stacks of cash who are in good shape, who aren't looking for a place to stay to get away from their country. They're here for a very obvious reason. Even with them, I've seen people, kind of fear mongering of saying, "Oh, they're going to build a Chinese paramilitary and help take over the country." They don't need to do that.
That's what Nick was saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, they really don't. I mean, like, could they? Sure, but like, there's way easier ways. Like, now, if those guys are going in to help facilitate EMPs or grid, neutralizations or poisoning water tables or what have you, maybe. I think it probably has more to do to facilitate with large scale hacking and things like that, where they're putting pop-up towers and building networks to help facilitate a larger scale thing. I don't think you're going to see those guys trying to acquire machine guns and doing like a conventional army kind of thing. That's just my opinion. But
we just had this kid Nick Shirley in here,
mm-hmm.
who does all these videos where he's down at the border and then he'll like come up to New York City and go to like the migrant centers and stuff. But do we still have that picture that he airdropped you of the Chinese directions? Do you have that?
I have it, yeah.
All right, let's see if we can pull this up. So this kid was just doing a video in San Diego where I'll fuck up the name of the town, but the place where they were, where there's a hole in the border or something, and they're always coming across, where, you have people from South America, and then a lot of Chinese people come through this area because they have like a set system of what they're going to do. And he's like, these are usually able-bodied, single Chinese males. So it's like, all right, I'm not trying to be like, oh, definitely espionage, but like somewhere in there is. Like some of them have to be. And so he had this document that he was able to get. How did he say he got it? Do you remember?
I think it was a migrant that he found it on the ground or something, because there were Chinese coming through, and I think he found it.
Right. So he got this document, and it was all in Chinese, and then he had it translated via like AI. And I told him get it double checked by a human, but but it mostly translates correctly. Do we have it on the screen? So this is it right here. We're going to zoom in on it. But I'm not going to go read the whole thing. I read it on that podcast with Nick. But essentially, this is like direct directions of what to do step by step when they get here, that, to make a long story short, ends with them going wherever the fuck they want in America, and doing it also, by the way, if they choose to follow these directions to a T, which many of them probably get like a quarter of the way through and then say I'm good and disappear off the map. But like if they follow it to a T, they're doing it in all legal protocols as well. Yeah. Like contact the lawyer to have this case go through when you get to this place, whatever. And I think about this, and this is where I do get scared. Like, all right, we're making it this easy. We already see the fentanyl wars coming across from the cartels, which is coming from China, the actual fentanyl itself. It's like you got an opium war, you got a potential espionage war going on the border. Like that is a what's that? Why am I forgetting words today? That's like I'm really at a blank for words, but like that's an aggressive action. These are aggressive actions. That's not what I'm looking for, but it's gonna get the job done. That we're seeing from one country to another, and we don't seem to be taking that seriously enough.
No, I agree. I mean, you see it with, it's not just Chinese. I mean, you see people from the Middle East, Egypt. I mean, you name it. There's people coming from all over the fucking planet right now that similarly are it doesn't look like you're a refugee, like they're in good shape, they're well fed, the clothes they have, like they're clean cut. So it's like, well, why are you here? I mean, yeah, I think it's pretty easy to ascertain and appropriate to do so, to think that, well, they're here for some specific reason. There's an intentionality to that many people that all look the same and are doing the same things and having directions. There's a reason that's happening. We can debate as to why that is. And again, my opinion is that it's, to help facilitate, or in case of, if there needs to be a facilitation of something. But again, like when you look at that bigger picture, if China was to completely take over the country or demolish it, that's not going to be in their best interest. Now, that could certainly lend itself to saying, well, if enough of them come over here and kind of set up shop, plant their roots in and start building businesses, or get elected to certain offices, or what have you. Like, to me, that's a smarter play, and they're a very long game country that way. So I could see them doing something like that, where they're trying to influence our culture, they're trying to get into our politics, they're trying to start businesses. That they're trying to not assimilate into American culture, but do the exact opposite, because you've seen such a divisive component to our, even within the confines of our government, of wanting to say, like, oh, diversity is our strength, and so we need to recognize everybody. We're not Americans. It's you're Ukrainian, you're Cambodian, you're
Right.
whatever, and that's a problem. So yeah, I think it's probably more they're just trying to take advantage of it, because for them to try to infiltrate with enough people to to match police and military and whatever, like, I don't think that's that realistic, in my opinion. But
Yeah. It's more. I agree. I think it's more the potential spy and information angle, because we know they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to your story. Which
Yeah.
we had a great, awesome tangent there to start off this podcast. With all that other stuff, I'm sure some things will come up along the way. But you had said you joined the Navy when you were 17, but you had to you officially when you were 18, because you have to wait until you're that age, right? Your
Correct.
parents have to sign for you or something at 17.
Yeah.
Okay, so you knew you wanted to go into special operations, which in that case within the Navy, I would imagine means going into the Navy SEALs. How far, how many years did you have to wait before you tried out for that, or did you go right away?
Pretty much right away. So back then, just being a SEAL, excuse me, wasn't its own job. At that time, there was what they called SEAL source ratings, which I want to say there was maybe 15 or so of them that were regular jobs in the Navy, that the Navy kind of deemed that it had something to do with being in the SEAL teams, or doing that in the SEAL teams could lend itself to, having some impact or what have you. So I looked at the list, and the first thing I saw was corpsman, and I was like, I want to do that. And they're like, yeah, we already have too many of them. It's basically closed right now. Pick something else. And so I was like, intelligence specialist, that looks cool. So I went through boot camp, then went through 5 months of intelligence specialist A school.
What did that comprise of?
So,
what kinds of things?
It's really big Navy stuff. A little bit of it maybe lent itself to being applicable in the SEAL teams, but not much. At that time, this is again in 96, 97. So it was identifying Russian warships and planes from aerial imagery. It was reading aerial imagery from, TARPS pods off of F-14s. It was very kind of Cold War conventional carryover, big military intelligence gathering. So it wasn't anything super fancy or, fucking Jason Bourne-like. It was neat, but so yeah, it was 5 months. Probably the coolest part of it was actually in Virginia Beach. Little Creek is kind of the main Navy base in Virginia Beach, or in Norfolk. Dam Neck is this smaller base, which is where SEAL Team 6 is at, which is also where intelligence specialists and operational specialist A schools are at. So being there, the SEAL Team 6 compound was right there, and you would see Team 6 guys working out in the gym or swimming in the pool or, running around the base. And you'd catch glimpses of them here and there, which was pretty motivating as a 18-year-old wanting to become a SEAL. It was cool to see, the dudes at the pinnacle in all their fucking gear and, whatever. So that was neat. Went straight to BUDS after that, and started with Class 214, made it all the way through to third phase. And 1 week before the last portion, which is San Clemente Island, which is the last 5 weeks of training, I pinched my sciatic nerve really bad and then just failed everything. So I got rolled for that, came back with 215, and graduated with him.
Wow. So you had to go through a lot of it.
I had to go through all of third phase all over again.
Whoa. Okay. Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.